Okay, welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of In the DAWG House with Tim and Scott. Tim Cicciarelli here from My Country 99.3 WCON with my long time ago radio morning show partner, the voice of the Georgia Bulldogs, and I think it's in his contract now. I have to introduce him as the Friends of Georgia Radio Hall of Fame, Scott.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me get my contract in check.
Let's see here. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's right here, Scott.
Yes, here's my contract.
Well, your piece of tissue paper.
Okay. Yeah, I don't really have a contract. Like everything else we've done, it's basically just by the seat of our pants.
By the seat of our pants, which, we somehow made a living doing that for a long time. Not you, though, by the way. Entered your 33rd year as voice of the Georgia Bulldogs. And we're going to have some fun today. We're going to talk a little bit about what it was like for you when you had to take over for the legendary Larry Munson. Now you're referred to as the legendary Scott Howard. You blink. 30 years have gone by, and we'll talk a little bit about that transition. But first, Scott, before we dive into the episode, great job on last week's broadcast. And if you wouldn't mind, why don't you give our listeners a rundown on what your thoughts were on Georgia against the Thundering Herd last week between the hedges we kicked off the season?
I thought the Dogs looked pretty good. They had talked in the offseason and leading up to this year about wanting to start fast. That was something that they had kind of worked on, certainly offensively. But, that when you use that phrase, that can look many different ways. If you start the game on defense, you can start fast by forcing the other team 3 and out, forcing a punt, getting field position, all that kind of stuff, which is what Georgia did. Marshall had the ball to start the game, and I think at least their first 2 series went 3 and out. Maybe their first 3. I'd have to go back and look.
I think at least their first 3. I was like, they didn't convert.
Yeah, they weren't moving the ball very much at all. And certainly Georgia was the reason for that. Marshall had a lot of issues with their roster, so many new players. And, now I'm looking this week, and Austin Peay's in the same boat that Marshall was, although Austin Peay won their game last week against Middle Tennessee State. They beat an FBS team, which was only their second time to ever do that. They're an FCS program, which is like the old Division I AA. So that's what Austin Peay plays in, but they beat Middle Tennessee, which is a team that's eligible to go to a bowl. That's what FBS is. So, they've come together apparently a little bit better than what we saw last week. But Georgia had a good performance. Gunner was very solid, a couple of rushing touchdowns, was a leading rusher in the game, and threw the ball okay and had 2 touchdown passes. And Zachariah Branch was a big highlight for Georgia, the Southern Cal transfer, and on and on and on. We had a lot of good defensive players in the game last week. Played a ton of guys. I think they got better than 80 people in the game. So that's a huge number to get that many on the field for one game.
Fantastic to give them some experience right there, right out of the gate too. And like you said last week, and everybody that knows a little bit about Georgia football, I think we got what we expected last week. And
yeah, I think so.
And no real big injuries, I believe, right? Coming out of that game, moving into the next week.
Nothing huge. They did have one to a freshman starting offensive lineman. And I'm not sure what his situation is for this week. We may not see him until next week. Next week is Tennessee game on the road, SEC opener, all of that. So I'm not sure if he's going to be ready to go this week. I believe it was an ankle injury, or the description to us was a lower body injury. So, a lot of times they don't get real specific with us, but when you're 360 pounds and 6'7", a lower body injury can be pretty harsh. So we'll see how that turns out.
First game too, right? Wasn't it? His first game between the hedges, all hyped up, and then.
But he's such a big body and a very talented freshman lineman, and still kind of learning the ropes, but won the starting job out of camp and was in there, and that's a rarity because to start your first game as a freshman on the offensive line. Under Kirby, only one other player had ever done that, and he ended up being a first-round draft pick with the Giants, and that was Andrew Thomas back in
Wow.
2017.
How about that?
And he's still in the pros now, so that was, he was sharing some pretty good company there with being able to start in his debut at Georgia.
Well, I stand corrected when I said no big injuries. Then I was thinking that, no season-ending injuries against
Oh, no, nothing like that.
Marshall or anything like that. But hopefully he'll be back, like you said, for the SEC opener, and I'm sure you'll have more information on that as we get closer to Austin Peay this week. Let's go back and talk a little bit about Gunner. I mean, for those that are in Bulldog Nation, they know his history, they know his story. But for the casual fan that might be, really starting to dig in to becoming a Georgia Bulldog fan. But Gunner, I mean, first of all, he has one of the best names in Georgia history, right? Gunner. So tell us a little bit about his story. I saw this meme the other day on social media that talked about, the type of car he drives, the town he's from, and how big or small the town is that he's from, and he's a Georgia guy. So fill our audience and our friends on the other side of the speakers in about Gunner Stockton and what we can look for from QB1 this year.
He's a humbled young man. I mean, he's good at what he does. He's a good football player. He's a very good athlete. I mean, his high school records will make your head spin when you come in and see what kind of numbers he posted in high school. I mean, they're just crazy. He rushed for over 4,000 yards as a quarterback, and he may still have the state passing record. I haven't viewed those in the last couple of years, but tens of thousands of passing yards and touchdowns, and I think in his senior season, I want to say he had 50-something touchdown passes and maybe only one interception. So I mean, just crazy stuff like that, and that was at high school. And then, in his time at Georgia, he's been behind other guys until late last season when Carson Beck was injured, and in the SEC championship game against Texas, and Gunner came in, and and that was kind of the thing that legends are made of. That second half, that he led Georgia to multiple touchdown drives and multiple scoring drives in that game. They end up beating Texas for the conference championship. And then he got his first start against Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl in the playoffs last year. And then his second start was last week against Marshall.
His second start.
Yeah. But he's earned where he is now. Mm-hmm. He's beloved by his teammates. I mean, you ask anybody on the team, offense or defense, I mean, you say, tell me about Gunner Stockton, and they all just, they get this big grin on their face, and they just start laughing and throw out all their inside team inside stuff, the nicknames that they may call him and all that when they start talking about him. So
what are some of the nicknames they call him?
Gunner.
Well, okay, that's creative. Gunslinger, I don't know.
I don't.
I mean, Gunner, you don't need a nickname when your name is Gunner.
No, when your real name is that, you don't need, it's built in.
And it's the perfect name for a quarterback. And I just watched his post-game interview and all the microphones in front of his face, and he just had this grin. He was having a great time. He's proud to be where he is, and he just looks like a genuine good kid. You just want to cheer for that guy.
That's it. That's perfect. He's genuine. He's from Northeast Georgia. He's from Rabun County and Tiger, Georgia, and that's him. I mean, he knows where he's from. He knows how he was raised, and he hasn't forgotten that by going off to college and being a high-profile starting quarterback for one of the top college football teams in the country. And that's easy to do, to kind of lose your way when you're with the way the sport has changed, and these guys are getting paid lots of money, and there's lots of benefits, and on and on and on. And we haven't really seen that happen to him, and it's a really good story.
Well, I'll tell you, the meme that I mentioned earlier, for those who don't know what a meme is, I'm learning this from my kids, but it's just something you see on social media, right? A graphic about, it's got Gunner, and he's not driving a Lambo. I think he's driving like a 1984 truck, right?
Yeah, like an F-150 that belonged to his grandfather. That's TV loves that story,
Well,
man.
I love that story as a Georgia
Hey,
fan. And don't that we want to cheer for that guy. They'll go with the humble roots and that's keeping his head where it needs to be. And these things can change in time, but that just adds to the Georgia lore to me that we've got a kid with that kind of character from our own backyard. You just can't help, like I said earlier, but cheer for this guy. And I don't know, is his sister's name Georgia?
yeah.
As well. His sister's name is Georgia, and all these fun little tidbits that we're learning about Gunner, our QB1, just like I said, will make us want to cheer for him. And let's just hope he stays healthy throughout this year and continues to bring us some victories.
Well, I guarantee you, TV producers are always trying to come up with storylines and ideas, and that will be every Georgia game you see on television. You're going to hear about, he drives the 84 Ford F-150 that belonged to his grandfather, and there'll be a picture or there'll be some video, and then they like to talk about the fact that he got cattle for Christmas. That was his Christmas present because they have animals.
Yes.
His family does. I mean,
Yes.
they raise cattle. I mean, that's not odd. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of coaches that have cattle. They have a ranch or something.
This guy here, me for 30 years. Like, I live on a farm with cows now, so I have cattle. If I have cattle, Gunner should have some cattle. Right?
But TV people they love that story because they think it's, it doesn't really mesh with modern day football stories, I guess, from a lot of angles. You have to go finding that story, but I don't know. I kind of laugh at it because it's, I guess we're used to it.
Sure, but the rest
that's
of the
what we know.
country, it's part of the folklore, right? It's part of the, I guess the rural South might be part of the storyline, and I say we embrace it. I love it. I think it's
100%.
And he just seems like the kind of guy who's just gonna, I believe, will stay humble, keep his head straight, even though he's going to be in the limelight a lot this year. And I got to say, it was really wonderful to watch him stiff arm that guy and run into the end zone and look back at him like that was the best play. I don't know. What did he have to say about that play in particular?
Well, when he scored and looked back, that's what I thought he was doing. Mm-hmm. And since that time, there's been another side of the story that, maybe what I was thinking at the time when we were calling the play, because the guy tried to tackle him, he stiff-armed him like at the 5, and the defensive player just kind of slid off and fell to the turf, and he's laying on the ground at the 5, and Gunner's in the end zone, and he's looking back, and he's pointing. He takes a quick point, but what I think he was doing was thanking his teammate. London Humphreys was there and kind of shielded, made like a shield block so that he could get into the end zone. So I don't think he certainly wasn't taunting.
He wasn't showboating at all.
Never
and that's
do
what
that.
I thought, because when I saw that happen and I heard you talking about it, I think it could have been perceived as though he was showboating, but I'm like, that doesn't align with who he is at all. And everything you just said, that's the first time I heard that, and that checks out.
So I think he was turning around pointing like, hey, it's kind of like a guy who makes a good pass in basketball. He'll point down the court. Hey, that was a great pass, thanks. Awesome. And that was kind of what he was doing. He was thanking his teammate for helping him get into the end zone. And I don't think at all he was looking back and like laughing at the guy because he stiff-armed him and shoved him to the turf.
Still pretty great to watch that.
It was a good play. It's a good video too.
It really is. That's going to make that's part of Georgia lore now. And I think that's what we're seeing with Gunner Stockton is I think we're starting to see a new chapter in this wonderful history of Georgia football. So we'll talk more about Gunner as the season continues, of course. Scott, I want to shift gears here a little bit. And, as you entered your 33rd year this year, I remember back when you were doing color commentating for Larry Munson, when you were providing color for the broadcast.
Such as it was, yes. Stat keeper, basically.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I know that we used to joke about that, about how you were keeping stats, and then can we just sometimes if there was an outburst, you were told to not outburst.
Well, I had to limit them.
You had to limit your.
Although they're still on the tape somewhere.
Yes, they are. I heard one.
But it's like just kind of hold your water over there, buddy. Let me.
Well, you were.
And Larry never said anything like that, but it was like, that I don't want to sound like I'm backwoods high school broadcast where you're just screaming your head off because your local team just, ran 80 yards for a touchdown. I mean, I was in that too. I mean,
Sure.
I was part of that in my early radio days, but, you want it to sound, uh, a little bit, I don't want to say
Polished.
classy, but, professional. Yeah.
Sure.
It's like, let the play-by-play guy do his thing and the color guy do his thing. And
Well,
hopefully they don't
listen, I was
overlap.
your radio partner back in those days, and I was a fan of you and of Larry and the chemistry the two of you had, and I know that Larry Munson was Larry Munson, and that's what I wanted to talk about is for you to have sat next to Larry in both basketball and football, by the way, and then to finally take over, and when you got the job 33 something years ago. 32, whatever it is. I can't do math, but I imagine Scott Howard filling those shoes. And we're not going to talk about this every episode, but that must have been exhilarating and terrifying. I'm assuming. What was that like?
Well, when I joined the broadcast in 1993, that was a little scary. Or not really scary. I mean, I wanted to do it. And I got the opportunity to do it. But my goal in 1993 was just stay out of Munson's way. It's like, don't step on his toes. Just, do what your assignment is. And my assignment at that point was, just provide a little bit of color. I was doing the returns back in to the broadcast, maybe, reading, promos or commercials or something to take that off him and keep stats and, just contribute in those ways. Not, he didn't really use an expert analyst on his broadcast. I mean, Larry did color and play-by-play himself.
For sure.
Because he was colorful.
Yes.
And he would tell the story and paint the picture and all of that. And then, I started I did basketball with him as well, starting in 93, 2 years. And then he took himself off the road with basketball just because of the travel conditions and his age at the time. And so I started doing basketball solo in 95, 96. I think it was Tubby Smith's first season
Tubby
as the head
Smith.
coach.
Didn't we go to the Elite Eight that year, I think?
We went to the Sweet 16.
Sweet 16. Gotcha.
Yeah, in Denver and lost to Syracuse in the Sweet 16. And to this day, I still think they cheated us, but that's all right. I was like, where's the 5 count? That should be a turnover. They didn't throw the ball in. Anyway.
We'll revisit that during basketball season, but yes.
Yeah. But the deal with Larry, I mean, Munson and I worked on football until in 07. He did not do road games. So that's when Zaire and I were paired up and started doing the road games in 2007. Then in 2008, Larry retired after the second game, and Zaire and I became the permanent broadcast team.
Yeah.
And it wasn't terrifying to me. It was exciting. It was a new opportunity. I wanted the job.
You earned the
felt
job.
like I could do the job. It's like I know how this is supposed to look. I know how it's to be done. I'm not him. I'm me. So it's going to be different. But
right there, Scott, what you just pointed out was I'm not him, I'm me. But I can imagine, I mean, Larry is a legend. I mean, I'm surprised there's not a statue of him outside the Butts-Mehre building in Athens, right? And so for a lot of people, and I remember at that time because I was very defensive of you. I'm like, man, this is going to be scary because people are going to want a Larry. But you had the courage and the confidence to just do you. And it worked for over 3 decades. But I'd imagine that took some courage, Scott, to not try to, or maybe it didn't for you. It was just simple for you to just slide into your own style and realize you got a big shadow there.
Yeah. No, and that shadow is still there. I mean, it always will be. And it's not just Georgia. I mean, there's a lot of, I've got sun coming in the window here. That's
okay.
Lighting on this is not good. Maybe I can change it. But
yeah.
There's a lot of situations across the country where you've had these longtime broadcasters, as they like to say now, the legendary broadcasters that have moved along or gone on their way, and then the next guy. I mean, somebody's got to do the job, so you got to bring in another guy. And everybody goes through that when you follow somebody that has had the success that Munson had in that role. But I didn't really shy away from it. I wanted the job. I had the opportunity to get the job, and I'm still doing the job. So hopefully, that means that it's going okay. it's going okay, and
you're doing all right. 33
people
years.
still enjoy listening to our day-long broadcast of Georgia football. And
listen, I'm one of them. I mean, from the
fun.
beginning to the very end, because I just want as much Georgia football as I can get. And then when I know the guy in there doing it personally, and just again, not to sound like a fanboy, but really, I was telling you off the air was, Scott, to take it's been a while since we've had Georgia football, and for you to jump back in, it's been months, and then you just were in mid-season form, and so in addition to your ability to, paint the picture for those of us who weren't at the game or weren't able to watch it on TV, or for those of us that sync it up with TV. But you've had some changes this year in that broadcast booth too. You've been with Zier for this would have been his 18th year, I believe.
Yeah.
So Eric Zier, another Georgia legend in his own right on the field and in the booth. So tell us a little bit about Josh Brock, your new color commentator.
I've known Josh for a little while. He played back in the early 2000s. He played with on the same teams as Shockley and Pollock and David Green and all of those guys. And
it's a great time.
I knew him and actually interviewed him, multiple times when he was a player. I mean, that's the thing that kind of gets me more than anything else, because I'm talking to these guys in my profession. They're in college and they're playing football, and then here it is, 20 years later, and now I'm working with him, and it's similar. It's similar to my dynamic with Larry, with Munson. I used to listen to this guy all the time or see him on television, and I knew who he was, but I didn't know him. I didn't meet Munson until 1989 when I started working in Athens, but I felt like I had known him a lot longer than that. But it's similar with Josh. So here's a personality that. He's done a lot of local radio, a lot of high school football broadcasts. That's not his primary deal. He has his own business, and the radio was kind of a side and an enjoyment and a hobby for him. And he's worked with us on other programming over the course of the last 10 or 12 years or so. And, he jumped right into the role on Saturday as the analyst. I thought he was really good.
Agreed.
He doesn't shy away from anything. He's a very competitive guy, and just kind of applied those thoughts. I'm not thinking of the right word here, but he applied that aspect of his personality to doing the broadcast.
And on game one, to do it like that too, with such confidence and clarity, I got to tell you, I was, I like to hang on to things that are familiar, and I've enjoyed listening to you and Zier do the games for all those years. So I was a little, oh man, there's going to be a change in the sound of the broadcast. And I'm going to have to tell you from the get-go, I thought Brock did an amazing job. Josh Brock like you said, he dove right in. He was confident, he was clear, and the chemistry between the two of you, bouncing back and forth, I felt like I was like he'd been doing it for years with you. So congratulations to him on his new position. And we enjoyed Eric Zier. Now he's doing some other things with Jeff and Kevin Butler on another show on the next day as well. So we still get our taste of Zier as well in Georgia football, but really enjoying what you and Josh are doing and looking forward to the rest of the season. Scott, what can we look forward to with Austin Peay coming in between the hedges for game 2? You kind of referenced it earlier. It seems like they might be a little bit stronger than what we experienced with the Thundering Herd from Marshall.
In their first game, it was pretty good. They did well against Middle Tennessee State. They won the game, as we said. It was a road win for them, but I think if Georgia is Georgia and what we expect, I expect another situation to what we saw last week. I don't know what the score is going to be. I don't know all that stuff, but Georgia is a better team. They have certainly more talent. I mean, it was, Kirby was talking about, two of the things that they focus on Georgia all the time, recruiting and development.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're seeing from Georgia.
Yeah.
They've recruited well. They're very deep. They develop these guys. We saw that last week with better than 80 guys getting on the field against Marshall. Not at one time. That would be a penalty.
Flags.
But, I think that's what, if you ask the coaching staff, they won't tell you publicly, but they would like to do that again this time. I mean, they have respect for this team. They have prepared for this team like they would any other team. So I just hope we see a good performance by Georgia. We get what we expect. I think if you're a fan of that, then you know what your thoughts are when you see this name on the schedule, Austin Peay coming to town. You feel like this is going to be a win.
Yeah.
And I feel like it will be. I don't know what it's going to look like, but
it's going to be fun nonetheless.
Don't get hurt. Take care of yourself.
Right.
We don't need any injuries. All of that stuff that you normally say in games like this. But it's going to be another Saturday of Georgia football. We're excited about it.
Can't wait for it. Another Saturday of Georgia football between the hedges in the Classic City, and then we'll get ready for a top 25 team SEC opener the following week with Tennessee on the road. Scott, great to see you again. Looking forward to our conversation next week. Thanks for the time. So be sure to give us a follow, download, and share with your friends. Scott Howard, voice of Georgia Bulldogs, Hall of Famer. Thanks for being with us, bud.
Anytime. We're doing this again next week. Is that right?
Every week all through football season. It says so right here in this contract that we have.
In my contract. Okay, well, then I guess I have to then. Well, until next week then. So long, everybody.